Stand by. The vacuum tubes are warming up. This is a special live broadcast right here on Georgia Radio.
Well, it's always great when friends stop by, especially when we have a songwriter and an author all in one house. I'm talking to Pat Terry today, the songwriter, and his lovely wife, Pamela, who is a best-selling author. Welcome you two to Georgia Radio. Glad to have you on.
Great to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Y'all just got back after like a whirlwind trip and over in Europe and you're home.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Sort of.
Yeah. Welcome
Not really great, but we're home.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Pat, I want to get to you here in just a second because our audience here on Georgia Radio is going to know you. If they don't know you by name, they'll know you by your music. And you're a home run for our station. Travis Tritt, Tanya Tucker, the Oak Ridge Boys, Kenny Chesney, just to name a few, John Anderson. Oh, my goodness. I mean, the list just goes on and on about artists and songs that you've written for artists that are just legendary. So welcome to the show.
Great. Thanks for having me. It's been fun. It's been a great way to make a living and express myself all these years. And I'm always happy to talk about it.
It's been a great way not to work, because Pamela on the other side of the house, boy, it's not easy being a writer, Pamela.
Exactly.
And it's really not easy to have the lightning strike, not once, but twice, and then hopefully a third time here. People know your work, The Sweet Taste of Muscadine. You are a Penguin Random House author. That must feel really great to say.
I'm really proud to be with them. They have a great legacy, and I'm humbled, and I work with some really great people. I have a wonderful editor, and everybody at Random House has just been great. So I'm tickled to be there.
Let's talk about When the Moon Turns Blue, because you're coming to do a novel idea, which is a big event that's happening Tuesday, October the 15th, up there at Brimstone Tavern and Restaurant. I'm going to be there. It's in Alpharetta, Georgia.
Yeah,
we'd like everybody to come out and meet the two of you.
Yeah, we'd be great. We're looking forward to it.
Now, you have to RSVP to this event, so we're going to make it really easy. The link will be in the show story. When this hits the airwaves, it'll immediately be podcast, and that link to RSVP to come hear the Terrys, it's going to be in the link. And so you just click it and you RSVP to A Novel Idea, Tuesday, October the 15th, 7 to 8:30 at Brimstone Tavern up there in Alpharetta. And it's sponsored, I got to say, by Bookmiser, our good friend Nell, and then the Atlanta Writers Club.
Yeah.
So tell me about the book, When the Moon Turns Blue. What are we looking forward to?
Well, the book is set in a fictional southern town of Wesleyan. Sweet Taste of Muscadines was set in the same city. I had one reader tell me that she got into an awful argument with her husband, saying he said that the town of Wesleyan didn't exist, and she said, "Oh, yes, it does," and they couldn't find it on the map. That's because it is fictional, but it feels real. And in this particular novel, When the Moon Turns Blue, is centered around a Confederate statue that mysteriously falls over in the middle of the night. So it's sort of a picture of a lot of different people in the city and how they deal with this. And it has a lot of humor and hopefully a lot of empathy. And it's just a fun ride. So it's a book I'm really proud of, and I think it's fun.
Any of the characters that we're going to recognize from The Sweet Taste of Muscadine?
One I think walks through, but these are mainly new characters. Yeah. So I think in any southern town, there's enough characters to fill books after books after books.
Right.
So if you're paying attention, you may recognize a name or two, but mainly it's a bunch of new characters.
I think that's great, though, and it's going to be fun. The release of your next book, which is on the way through an open window, it's not going to be until next year. Same town, or is it a total departure, Pam?
Same town. Random House said, "Can you keep writing stories in the same town?" And I think they thought I wouldn't like that, but that's fine because, like I say, the southern cities have a lot of stories, and so we'll see when I exhaust that, but I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. The next one is set in the same town, and it happens when a ghost appears. So I'll just leave it at that. But the ghost of Aunt Edith makes an appearance. So,
I love how you just boil it down. You're like, it's about a statue falling over. It's about when a ghost appeared.
Yeah,
Nobody
right.
can do that, but that's the difference. When you're with Penguin and Random House, you can do that. So
Well, it's about a lot more things, but that's how we jump off and take off running.
I
So,
love
yeah.
it. I love it. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing your talk, Pamela.
Yeah.
And
The first Muscadines was about a mother who was found dead in the Muscadine Arbor. So I set the bar pretty high.
yeah,
They all kind of start off that way.
I might have died in our Muscadine Arbor when I pruned it for the first time. It had never been pruned in the 7 years we live here. I had a guy that was going to prune it.
Yeah.
And rather mysteriously, he died the week before he was supposed to be here, maybe in a Muscadine Arbor.
There you go. There's a story.
Yeah. I thought I was going to die doing it. 5 truckloads of debris. It was just nuts.
Really?
Yeah.
At least you know what a muscadine is. I found out when I titled the book that a lot of people in New York City did not know what a muscadine was.
I had no idea, but they read the book.
Yeah, they had no idea how to pronounce it, and that was a learning curve for them.
We'll come out and hear the talk again. Brimstone Tavern, Tuesday, October the 15th, 7 to 8:30 in Alpharetta. And for some reason, they're going to let me up there, and we're going to moderate this talk. Pat is going to play a little bit. They always do that, don't they? When they know you can play and sing, and you're a songwriter, they're like, why don't you play? And you're like, okay.
That's what I love to do. So I'm
well, you're very kind. You're very kind to do that and to give up your time. Let's talk about that. One of the things that fascinated me when I was reading up on you is that you and Travis Tritt pretty much wrote that first album that he came out with.
Well, not really. Just his first #1 record was what we wrote. I had at the time that Travis signed his first record deal with Warner Brothers. I had a number of people up in Nashville kept saying, "Hey, there's this guy that lives close to you down there in Cobb County, and you need to get together with him. I mean, he's an incredibly talented guy." So I went and heard him play here in town one night, and went up
down at the Buckboard or something. I'm guessing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, at the Buckboard, and I went up afterwards and introduced myself, and. When I said that, when I said my name, he went, "Pat Terry." He said, "You played at my church one time," because I played contemporary gospel music all through the 70s, and so sure enough, I did remember that I had played at his church when he told me what his church was, and so we just decided we would get together and see if we could write something one afternoon, and he came to the house here, and Pam very graciously fixed lunch for us. And then we went back in my little studio room, and in just a couple of hours, we wrote a song called "Help Me Hold On," which ended up being his first #1 record. So
wrote a hit record.
Yeah.
What'd you do this afternoon? Wrote a hit record.
Yeah. Well, it's not too hard to do when you're working with Travis, because he's incredibly talented, and we had fun doing it, and I still hear it every once in a while on the radio.
You'll hear it on Georgia radio probably right after this interview.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, Tanya Tucker, Kenny Chesney again, the Oak Ridge Boys. The list just goes on and on. Can you dish on John Anderson a little bit, because one of my favorites? What was that like? Well,
John. To be honest with you, John was someone that my publisher knew personally, and Pam and I wrote a song called "Jump on It," which it's kind of a humorous song. If you've ever heard it, it's kind of a crazy little piece.
It's my only song. So.
Yeah.
So we wrote that one afternoon, and I took it to my publisher, and he said, John Anderson really needs to hear this. It sounds just like something he would do. So he got on the phone and called John and sent it over to him, and he loved it. And boy, just within a couple of days, he recorded that song. And I wish I could have been at the session. It's very rare that writers get to show up at the sessions of the artists that record their songs. And I wasn't able to do that time, and I would have loved to, because I'm a huge John Anderson fan. And when you hear his version of that song, there is no other version. He just did such a great job. So,
but I bet it would be interesting to hear the two of you sing it. Because, well, and I'm serious, because
Yeah. You
a songwriter brings something different to the song, I think.
You keep waiting for that.
Yeah. Okay.
He doesn't
Keep waiting.
believe me.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Maybe it'll happen. You never know. Tuesday, again, October the 15th, 7 to 8:30. The Terrys are going to be there. I'm going to be there. And we really hope that you'll show up to A Novel Idea up there in Alpharetta. Now, you have to RSVP. So please do that. Go in there and RSVP and show up and meet Pat and Pamela, and then go home with a book. And there's also going to be some other folks there that I know you're going to want to talk to. But come on out. Pat's going to play a little bit. Maybe Pamela will sing. You never know. But we're certainly going to talk about books and music, and it's going to be a great time. I'm just looking forward to meeting the two of you in person, and hopefully
we are too.
Hopefully we won't be jet lagged. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll look a little bit better than we do this morning.
There you go. As we wrap things up, last about minute to go here. Can you share some advice for up and comers, for folks that are just starting out in songwriting, or maybe they want to write a book? We can talk about this at the event too, but any words of wisdom as we get out of here?
Well, I always tell people, they always say, oh, I have a story. Everybody has a story. And I think everybody should write. When I started writing Sweet Taste of Muscadines, I had no thoughts of getting published. But it was a story that I wanted to tell. And I think your goal should be writing rather than being published. It's that self-expression that it really gives life a jolt, and it makes it better to tell your story. And I think that's probably true with songwriting as well. I think a lot of people have more talent than they realize, and most people have a story to tell.
Yeah.
Amen.
And I will kind of echo that. I mean, I think the important thing for songwriters is writing songs, and you may write a half a dozen and get an opportunity for those songs to be heard, and you get a professional opportunity out of that. But more often than not, writers write hundreds of songs before many of them are ever heard, and it's the joy in doing it that counts. And I think that's what comes through the songs. If you can hear in the song that someone must have had a great time writing this song, then it's got a chance to have an audience,
Yeah.
Well, we're going to hear a lot more Tuesday, October the 15th, 7 to 8:30 at Brimstone Tavern in Alpharetta, Georgia, for A Novel Idea. It's an author showcase, and in this case, singer-songwriter showcase with Pat Terry and Pamela Terry with her new book, When the Moon Turns Blue. We'll also have copies, I'm sure, of The Sweet Taste of Muscadine, and maybe a little preview through an open window when it comes out next year. The Terrys, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Matt.
See you soon.
All right.
Georgia Radio. Good company and great country.
Enjoying the country music.